Louis Riddick, Brian Greasy, as they do every Monday, join us. And Louis, I want to begin with you, and I'm always interested in the journeys these different coordinators take to where they are. And if Dan Quinn's Atlanta team holds on to a Super Bowl lead, he's not up in Dallas with his hat on backwards running this defense, but there he is. And he certainly seems to be having an impact on this Dallas team. How do you best measure it?
Well, I think you measure it right now by just the quality of their play. You know, you keep it in context, okay? You know that Philadelphia right now is still trying to find its way as far as what their identity is offensively. But you just look at the quality of play in terms of how they played the game each play. Was it assignment conscious? Did they fly to the football? Were they fundamental as far as their tackling was concerned? Did they make plays on the ball down the field? Did they execute their rush games? Well, all those things look pretty good. So Dan Quinn has a nice fundamental base from which to build. And they're working at a deficit right now. They have a lot of players that they are missing. Dan Quinn did a deep dive on himself and his scheme this offseason, and you're seeing the fruits of that work that he did this offseason pay off on this football field. That's
a great point, Louis. There are a bunch of impact players that are currently not on the field, and yet the men that are out there are making plays. And, Brian, you could say the same on offense. They don't have all hands on deck, but I'd say it's a pretty complete effort, even though, as Steve was saying, the box score doesn't really tell the story. What most impressed you from Dallas's perspective tonight?
Well, they dominated on the offensive side of the ball. And you're right, they were without Lael Collins, but I thought Terrence Steele played really well at that right tackle position. But when they have the receivers going, and Dak is obviously going to be the distributor. He's going to be the point guard. And if you decide to play zone coverage, he'll pick you apart. If you want to play man-to-man, he's going to find the matchup with Lamb or with Cooper, and he's going to beat you. But when they have the running game to go along with that, and not just Ezekiel Elliott, but Tony Pollard. To me, Tony Pollard is the spice that's different this year with this offense. So you tell me, Scott, who are you going to take away in the run game, pass game, with Dak healthy as a distributor? Very hard to stop.
As you guys know so well, this is about finding a stress point in your opponent, right? And Dallas stresses you across the board. And I want to give each of you a shot at this before we say so long for this week. It's early, 3 weeks in. But, Brian, I'll stay with you to begin. What do you leave Dallas believing about the two teams you saw this week that we will see moving forward?
I believe that Dallas is going to be there at the end in the NFC East, and I believe they're going to make the playoffs. And then once they make the playoffs, if they can stay healthy, who knows what can happen. Now, we know the history of the Cowboys in the playoffs, so I'm not saying anything beyond that.
Gotcha.
But I think this team has the talent to get there. Do they have the same talent as the Rams, as the Bucs, as the Packers? Well, we saw them go toe-to-toe with the Bucs in Week 1. So I think they can play, and I think it's going to be a long road for the Philadelphia Eagles, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, look, Dallas is, like, again, they're operating at a deficit on the defensive side of the ball, but they play with an attitude. They play in the vision that Dan Quinn has set forth for them, and that is a good vision. That's just running and hitting. And look, and that's what Micah Parsons really exemplifies. And really, he's not the leader of that defense, but in terms of the pace and the tempo and the attitude he plays with, he sets the tone there. Offensively, look, they're in a sweet spot right now, okay? They're in a sweet spot. They are multiple in every sense of the word. No matter what you do, they have an answer because that's the way they're built now. As long as that offensive line stays put, I don't see any team really challenging them in the NFC East unless somebody raises up here late in the season to kind of do something we don't expect. Philadelphia, they're in the early stages of a new program built under Nick Sirianni. They have a ways to go. They don't have a big margin for error, and you saw that tonight.
Next week, we got SoFi, an unbeaten Raider team, and a Chargers team that's early on figuring out ways to win some games late that they've typically let get away. That should be an excellent game. Travel well to L.A. Look forward to talking to both of you fellas then, all right?
You bet.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.